Ya comienza Escándalos Éticos.
You are very well known in the world because of your work with children, with labor of children, with traffic of children. You have awarded the Nobel Prize because of your work. Tell us about what is your foundation doing? What is your work?
Thank you, Professor Bernardo. We all know and talk that children are the reflection of our past, our present, and our future. No segment of the society or no segment of our age is so precious as childhood is. It has tremendous potential of future. If the childhood is denied, then everything is denied. The very first day of my own schooling, I saw a cobbler boy sitting outside of my school. And that has struck me. And I went inside in my classroom and asked to my teacher and headmaster that why he is not with the rest of us in school. And they tried to convince me that they are poor children. Nothing is uncommon. Poor children have to work. And that was not really convincing for me. I gathered my courage. I was 5.5 and the boy was also of the same age. So one day when I was coming back from the school, I went straight to his father, who was also a cobbler, and both of them were polishing and repairing shoes of children like us. So I asked him that, sir, why don't you send your son to school? And he got surprised. He said that I have never thought about it. And then he said, my parents, I and my son, everybody start working since childhood. And then he further said that you don't know that we people are born to work. That was his answer. But it was a question for me, not only at the age of 5, for the rest of my life, that why some children are born to work at the cost of their freedom, their childhood, their future, their dreams, their education, their health. That is unacceptable. That made me angry. But I did not react in hatred or in destruction or in violence. I preserved my anger. And one day I decided to give up my career as an electrical engineer, and I started taking up the issue of child slavery, which was a non-issue in my country. It was a serious problem, but people had no idea about it. There were not academic researches or reports. There was no law. There was no book or nothing. So it was very difficult to get into an area which has not yet been acknowledged as a serious issue. It was an evil, it was a crime, but people thought it is a part of life because poor children are working, nothing is special in it. So I began like that. Then I started helping poor children. But that was a very conventional way of charity, which I did not like much. I wanted to go beyond that because I had limited resources as a student or as an engineer. But then I decided to give up my career and then look for some more innovative solutions. Coincidentally, I came across some people who were trapped into slavery, whose children were born and grew up there. And I decided to free them physically. So that was in 1981. And when I freed those children, I felt that I'm freeing myself, I'm not freeing them. Because it was an experience which was more divine, which was more unspeakable, I would say. When you talk of freedom, but when you free someone and realize something, that is something very special. But I knew my limitations also, so I set up an organization which started working to free children directly. And so far, my organization in India, that is called Bachpan Bachao Andolan, or Save the Childhood Movement, that has physically rescued over 84,000 children. And we have handed them over back to their mothers, fathers, the mothers who lost all the hope that they can ever find the children back in their lap. So that was a great experience. But it was always doing and learning. I realized that it is not an isolated problem. People think that poverty is the cause, but I realized that it is not true. It is half true. Child labor and poverty form a chicken and egg relationship. So I started attacking the problem in a more holistic manner, linking with poverty issues, education issues, justice and inequality issues, and also the corporate issues, because I believe that all corporations are not bad. If we go to them and try to sensitize them and try to bring the truth and argument for them, which are not against their business, then perhaps they will join. So we started new ideas of bringing different stakeholders of society closer and try to form a bigger movement. So we organized marches and activities in India and globally, demanding the enactment of laws. We tried to build a new culture of coalitions, not only within the civil society organizations, but also the teachers' organizations, trade unions, corporate sector, and the state authorities as well, judiciary. So it worked very well. We have gone for enactment of new laws with the help of politicians, though I never joined any politics, but we tried to convince politicians and we got good laws. We built then a global organization, what we call the Global March Against Child Labor. We organized a physical march across 103 countries in 1998 to build a worldwide movement, but also with a clear demand that there should be an international law to combat the worst forms of child labor, which was not there until 1998. Only in 1999, after the march, the demand has been considered by the international community and a new law has been enacted. Similarly, the whole issue of corporate social responsibility was not yet born. I mean, this phrase was not yet coined in 80s and 90s. But when I was able to launch some campaign in America and Europe, especially about the children who were working in drug industry, the carpet industry, and evolved some social voluntary mechanism for certification and labeling, it has been successful and then replicated in other countries and other places. Then we wanted to build a similar, bigger movement for education. So I was working for that, and finally my colleagues and I were able to found a new movement called Global Campaign for Education. So the Global March Against Child Labor was there, Global Campaign for Education were there, they were the international movements, but the national organization in India kept on working, freeing children, helping them in rehabilitation, education. We run some rehabilitation centers, but not with the typical charity mode. It is more with the human rights mode, where we wanted to empower the young people to become their own spokespersons, their own champions and voices and leaders. And we have been able to successfully demonstrate that it is possible. If these poor children who were enslaved and trafficked, if they're given opportunities, they can prove better than anyone. So we did it.
India, according to Amartya Sen books, he mentioned that there are a very high rate of hungry children, malnutrition. The agenda of your organization with the holistic approach are also trying to do something about this question?
Very good question, Professor. Essentially, I have been fighting against child slavery. Then I enlarge it to education right issues and so on, the corporate responsibility. But after Nobel Prize, I feel that this opportunity should be further used to build a bigger momentum and a bigger platform on other aspects of violence against children. Hunger is violence, as we know. Poverty is violence, as we know. Denial of education is violence. Denial of health is violence. So I wanted to bring all these aspects of violence against children under one umbrella. Child labor and slavery, trafficking, prostitution, abuse, then hunger, malnutrition, ill health, illiteracy. So we have launched a new organization now, Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation. And the foundation will work on the policy and practice both. Unfortunately, the issues of children are so fragmented globally also. Different UN agencies, as you know, are responsible for different aspects of one child. Child labor by ILO, for instance, health by WHO, UNDP, and UNICEF is responsible for something. Similarly, in the ministries and departments also, it is very difficult, good coordination, but it begins with a holistic approach towards this issue and a kind of holistic policy paradigm. So we are beginning on that in India and globally also. But definitely in India, we will have more focus on all these aspects, including hunger and malnutrition.
You were threatened by crime organizations in different opportunities. How do you continue with your efforts when your life was at a risk?
Well, I knew that it is a fight against crime, so the criminals and mafias who feel threatened to me. So in fact, when they attack me or my colleagues, it's an evidence that they are more threatened. That's why they are attacking.
Sure.
Why should I be threatened to them? Because they are threatened, that's why they are attacking.
Sure.
I lost two of my colleagues, Professor Bernardo. One was shot dead, one was beaten to death. My different parts of my body have scars and injuries. My left foot is broken, my backbone is broken, my rib has injuries. I cannot lift my right shoulder, it is also having serious injuries. So it's the part of life. But I tell you that it made me more strong because as I said that, I'm sure that they are threatened. That's why they wanted to eliminate me and my colleagues. And I don't hate them because my fight is not against any individual or any company or any mafia or criminal. It is against an evil, and the evil is slavery. How the human conscience can accept slavery, which is against the wish of God. The God made us free human being. The day, the minute, the moment we were born, we were born as free. So anything which is against freedom is against God.
Hace 20 años, En las estribaciones de los Himalayas,
conocí a un pequeño y delgado trabajador infantil. Me preguntó,
¿es el mundo tan pobre
que no me puede dar un juguete y un libro?
En lugar de obligarme a tomar un arma o una herramienta.
Amigos, no hay mayor violencia que negar los sueños de nuestros hijos.
Cada minuto importa.
Cada niño importa.
Cada niño importa.
Cada infancia importa.
Cada infancia importa. Kailash Satyarthi.
Oslo,
Noruega.
2014.
How do you see the trends in relation with child labor in the world? How do you see the trends and the perspectives?
Trends are great, very positive, very encouraging, and that brings optimism. And that's why I say that I will see the end of child labor in my lifetime.
There are new programs for poor children in education, no child left behind. There are new experiences. What is your experience that when you are building up this new foundation for education for poor children?
Again, these children are not responsible to live in those situations in those first 3 years of that life. But I don't agree completely with them. Partially, it's true that they have lost much in the first 3-4 years, 5 years' time. But it does not mean that we cannot cope up with that. We have to give extra care, we have to give extra nutrition, we have to give extra support, mental and psychological support, and they can cope up. Every child is born with enormous potential, and that potential should be harnessed for the betterment of the world.
Sure.
And these children are all our children. First of all, we must believe it. We must believe it that these are our children, our children. They are our children, all our children. And that sense has to be built. And your efforts, Professor, by organizing these congresses are towards that. Because you are leading these foundations of mutual responsibility. And we begin with the responsibility for our children in the world.
Sure. You are optimist, more or less, or pessimist about the future of the world?
I'm very optimist. I am optimist because of several reasons. But the most important reason I would like to underline is the emergence of quest for freedom among the young people. That has not yet been properly tapped for the globalization of civic responsibilities, globalization of compassion. These things have not been yet properly harnessed. But their anger, their resentment, their reactions are also signs that they wanted to do something good for the society. They are hungry to do something. Their energy has to be tapped in the right direction. We have to build the value of global citizenship among the children and young people. And that is something which I'm going to take up as my major mission in the coming years. And trusting and believing on the power of youth who are opposing child marriages, who are opposing illiteracy, who are opposing some of the traditions and, some of the negative aspects of cultures in different parts of the world, their energy and power should be used for the betterment of the world. So I am going to target the entire generation, and I am planning to launch the biggest ever campaign in the history with and for young people. I wanted to target 100 million, little bit well-off youngsters in universities, colleges, schools all across the world. At least 100 million are the ones who are hungry to do something good if they are given some better alternative and more concrete alternative rather than typical conventional preaching. Let them give them something substantial which they can see and feel. So this is 100 million target. Another 100 million children who are left out, they are victims of various forms of violence. They are denied education or health or malnutrition and so on, abused. So my idea is to call upon and engage 100 million young people to become the voices and spokespersons and champions and leaders and change makers and entrepreneurs for the cause of other 100 million left out children in the world. So the whole idea is 100 million for 100 million.
It's one of the best ideas of this century.
And you are my brother, you are my partner, you are my friend for future. We are meeting for the first time, but
yes,
we are going to put it big thing.
I am a Jewish people, no?
Yeah.
And the 11th commitment in the Bible, the 11th commitment in Judaism is that we must make our part in repair the world. But the world must be repaired. Tikkun olam is this the translation in the biblical language. That is an obligation. As you put it, every people is responsible for the children of the world.
Right.
We are partners. I am a humble partner to your exceptional contribution.
No, I will have to learn a lot from you. I tell you, I'm not exaggerating. You are full of knowledge, experience, passion, great heart, great soul. And as an activist, I will definitely learn from you as partner.